Hello, welcome along. So there was a game last night and it went in a way which we had not quite predicted. Slovenia have beaten the Republic of Ireland by 4-0 in League B of the Nations League. That's kind of, on paper, Ireland's heaviest defeat since 2018, and it feels worse than any defeat in recent times. Completely unacceptable, said Katie McCabe. Carla Ward, the manager, used the same phrase. And so we have much to discuss all of a sudden. Seán O'Connor covered the game for the Irish Independent last night. Dave Kelly was there as well. Seán, you're in studio. Welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Méabh Búrca represented Ireland over a 10-year period. Méabh, the last time we spoke to you, Ireland had been knocked out by Wales. So basically, anytime you're on the podcast, something terrible has happened.
Seems to be that way, unfortunately. I would say it's a pleasure to be here, but plenty to dissect.
I wonder, was League B of this tournament maybe misadvertised just because in kind of blunt terms, because obviously last year Eileen Gleeson in League B ran riot, the team ran riot. It was 20 goals for, 2 against, and then they went up to League A against the likes of England and France, and that was difficult. And so we'd sort of assumed, Méabh, going back to League B, it would be a very, very, very gentle start for Carla Ward. Is your sense that these League B nations are rapidly improving with investment in the game? You know, that's kind of, there's a state of flux almost, or is this just as bad as it looks from an Irish point of view next to what Gleeson's side did at League B level?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot to be said for the teams that are improving. I think, yeah, sure, on paper, the likes of Turkey are 60th in the world, but I don't think that's a fair reflection on how well they've progressed recently. I mean, we're still, I think it was 14 places ranked higher than Slovenia as well. So on paper, we still should have, I suppose we still would have expected that we were going to get 6 wins from 6, but it didn't turn out to be the case. I mean, Slovenia themselves, they've only been playing as a country for about 30 years. And initially they lost, I think, their first 6 games. Some of them included a 17-0 loss to Spain. So they're definitely on the upward trajectory. And I'd say last night they'll see it as a watershed moment. Like, obviously we will talk about how poor Ireland were, but in fairness to Slovenia, they have to get the credit too. They had some quality players throughout the team, and I think they put in a really good performance. Okay,
so maybe a degree of those mid-level nations improving, but to your point, it's predominantly about Ireland's poor performance. Ireland 25th in the world, Slovenia, as you said, 39th. Seán, where do you want to start on this Irish performance?
I suppose a little bit going back to Friday against Turkey at home, this was a group Ireland were expected to dominate, obviously coming down from League A. Slovenia being 14 places below, Turkey being 35 places below Ireland. And there were so many aspects of Friday's win over Turkey that was pretty concerning, and Turkey really should have had a late equaliser as well. Ireland kind of count themselves lucky to come away from that with the 3 points, but you're kind of giving the team the benefit of the doubt to some extent. How it was Carla Ward's first game, new camp, some new staff members, totally new chapter for them, so there was the benefit of the doubt a little bit. And last night you were hoping for a massive improvement. A little bit of talk before the game, Ireland were expected to dominate and come away with a strong performance and 3 points, and it went horribly. Worst half from an Irish team I've seen in a long time. I think Carla Ward put it best herself. She said after the game, "I won't use the word I probably want to use, but I think the first half was horrible, conceding 3 goals in the first 34 minutes, the first time Ireland have conceded 3 in the first half since 2020. As you said, worst defeat since 2018. And just such poor errors, like the first goal, rushed clearance from Anna Patton hits Megan Connolly's back and allows Slovenia to come in. The second one, simple set piece, the goal scorer not marked, running to the front post, and the third one, Heather Payne not getting out to the ball fast enough, and it's a easy square cross and a goal. So horrible first half, but you're kind of expecting a big fight back in the second half. Play with a bit of pride, get a goal back, get back into this, but that moment just didn't come. Yes, there was a few changes, added a little bit of energy, but it just never came, and Slovenia ended up winning 4-0. And I think Katie McCabe and a few of the players talking about how they're just going to have to use this as a reality check, and maybe the team aren't as far along as they thought they would in a group they were expected to dominate in.
Maeve, I might get your opening thoughts on the game itself through the prism of what Carla Ward said afterwards, because she does cite the changes and the new system, and so it would be great to get your take on how all of that is bedding in or not. So this is Carla Ward, a little bit shell-shocked, it must be said, with Tony O'Donoghue after the game.
Carla, how can you explain a performance like that and a result like that? I mean, in your second game, you must be shocked.
Well, I won't use the word I probably want to use, but I think the first half was horrible. But look, that's on me. I've tried something different. I've tried to get us in positions to create more, and look, it's not paid off. So at half time, we've had to readjust, and I thought second half we were much better. But you can't have a half of football like that and expect to win the game.
A lot of it was self-inflicted though, wasn't it? I mean, our passing was poor. I know the pitch was poor, but you won't be making those excuses.
No, and that's the thing. Like, we can take mistakes, but then the reaction of those mistakes is what I'm looking at, and that was probably the biggest message at half time. We had to tactically adjust as well, and I think, look, it's a horrible night, but what I would say is it's a huge learning curve at the minute. I'm asking them to do different things, and like I said, that it's my job to get that right, and I think it's important that I take the pressure away from the players, because yes, they go out there, but I'm giving them the message.
It looked like a system failure though. Does it make you consider, the style and the manner in which you want to play? You say you're not going to change and you just need more time maybe to get your message across?
I think it's more time, number one. I think you saw in the second half, actually, when we got some rhythm and fluidity, I think we thought we looked really good. But then the first half, I think, look, like I said, it's not the system. It was probably maybe a couple of players in different positions and trying something a little bit different. But look, like I said, that's something that we won't just rip it up. We have to own it. We have to take responsibility. We have to look at it. We have to make sure that half of football never happens again, because it's completely unacceptable.
So Maeve, that was Carla Ward. She says not the system, albeit you probably can't get away from the fact that it is a new system, and certain players not in their usual positions. So for people who didn't see the game or trying to get grapple a sense of what's gone on here, what was she doing last night? Who was playing where? Why? What was going on?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose she's playing with a 4-3-3, and it seems she's very regimented, and she's stated multiple times now she won't be changing from that system, which initially kind of it's a surprise in terms of, like, in international football, a lot of the times you kind of maybe suit the formation to do with the personnel that you have available, because obviously you can't pick and choose like you could at club level. So in the past, we've obviously often played with three centre backs, just given that we were very strong in that area traditionally, and I think we're still strong, to be honest. It was Caitlin Hayes was on the bench for the last two games. She featured briefly against Turkey, but she had played every minute under Eileen Gleeson before that. So that would be, I suppose, a first question mark really in terms of the back line. We had Megan Campbell was meant to start left-sided centre-back, but unfortunately just after the warm-up she had to be pulled out. So we just had Aoife Mannion then fill in. She was meant to play left-back, but Aoife Mannion had to fill in then for her, and Megan Connolly filled in as the left-sided centre-back with Anna Patton then beside her, and Heather Payne operating at right-back. So really, that should have been relatively solid. But then in midfield, we had Rusha Littlejohn as the holding mid. Carla seemed to be preferring having one holding mid versus two, which I suppose takes away a bit of that defensive stability I think that we had previously. And ahead of her, then we played Katie McCabe and Denise O'Sullivan, who, in fairness, a lot of people, myself included, have been trying to get, want to see them in advanced positions higher up the pitch, and that's where they played. And then they had the three up front. Then Ciara Caruso was on the right, first time playing anywhere apart from a striker. And then Amber Barrett was up front, and Lucy Quinn then was the left-sided forward. So yeah, I mean, like Seán said, a lot of things went wrong. I think you can go talk about the system. In many ways, the Katie McCabe experiment as a number 10 didn't bear any fruition. But again, it was a night when a lot of things went wrong, so it's hard to take that in isolation too. And for me, the most kind of worrying aspect really was, like Seán already mentioned, the goals were so preventable, and just our play in general. It just lacked that quality that has been there before. we almost looked like we were passing to Slovenia at times. I know obviously the girls weren't meaning to do that, but that's how it did seem. It got so frustrating to watch it, and I'm sure it felt like the girls could feel that too, because it seemed infectious. Once there was one bad pass or misplaced pass, it seemed to radiate throughout the team, and yeah, it was kind of a difficult watch for sure.
I think, unfortunately, with this team, that's where we have to have a brutally honest conversation. So it's not to say that the formation was perfect last night, and it's definitely, listening to you, it doesn't sound like you love where some of those players were played. But I am reminded of Ruisha Littlejohn and her very honest, adrenaline-fueled initial reaction on the touchline after the Wales game, where she said, listen, look, we are where we are, but we've really, with the next generation, we have to start creating ball players. We just have to. Players who can keep the ball. That's what we have to do. And in the meantime, yeah, we'll dig in and do our thing. And now we have a manager who's very admirably trying to play more of a possession-based game, fluid, attacking-based game. Like, I'm hearing people blame the pitch. I take that with a grain of salt. I think a brutal question needs to be asked here, Maeve, was Vera Pauw onto something when she looked at the team and she said, we've one or two who can really play. We're going to be hard to beat, disciplined, aggressive, organised, and we'll win games 1-0, 2-1, 1-0, that kind of a method. And that's our reality. And to try and go down this more progressive route is going to expose players who can't, across 90 minutes play a possession-based game.
Yeah, that's it exactly. I mean, I think traditionally we've always been defensively solid. Like even going back to the times when Noel Ping was manager, around 2006, 2007, when I was first in, I remember we used to do training sessions and we'd practice the long ball. That was literally one of our tactics, but we used it, we practiced it, we knew where to be in relation to it, and that was playing to our strengths. We had a tall striker up front and we worked off her, and that was going back to the Niall Quinn days. I suppose that's you're playing with the personnel that you have, and the system then fits around that usually. But yeah, I mean, that was the main thing that was lacking like last night, was that defensive stability, and it just didn't show at all. We were just wide open. The game itself was really, really open. It was such a transitional game. It went from one end to the other like I haven't seen in a long time. And when we played Turkey, we talk about wanting possession, and that's fine. We had over 70% possession on Friday night, and we still managed to only have 2 attempts on target, and one was the goal and the second came from Megan Campbell long throw-in. So even it's one thing saying we wanted to dominate possession, but then off the back of that you still need to be creating chances and ultimately scoring goals. So yeah, there's just so much areas that need improvement, but definitely like you said, the defensive stability is definitely something that we need to rectify, and I think it is something that can be improved on. I don't know, just so much went wrong last night.
Yeah. Seán, what's your read on the new style of play and what Ward's trying to do and the players she has?
I definitely agree with Maeve there, how it was such a surprise not to see Caitlin Hayes start again. We haven't seen much of Jessie Stapleton as well, who was absolutely superb in that defeat to Wales in December. So I suppose, like Maeve said, if you don't have the players, you kind of have to suit your system to the players, but Carla Ward seems very wedded to her system, and was asked there last night, will you change it after that? And she said she's not going to rip it up straight away. She's going to stick to it. But definitely think there's a lot of food for thought after that first camp in terms of, do you bring an extra body into defensive midfield alongside Ruisha Littlejohn? Like she really struggled against Slovenia, was taken off at half time. Heather Payne started in the front three against Turkey and then dropped back to full back against Slovenia. She really struggled, taken off at half time as well. Denise O'Sullivan, Katie McCabe, the first 2 names on every single team sheet for Ireland, world class players, and the 2 of them were marked out of the game last night. We really, really struggled. Denise, I think, had half a chance at the end, but didn't make any sort of impact at all. The front 3 didn't muster up any real clear-cut chances. Amber Barrett leading the line, working really hard as she always does, but just there wasn't a lot to take out. I know there will never be out of a 4-0 defeat, but just really, really not the start Carla Ward would have wanted. And as I said, that first win over Turkey, give them the benefit of the doubt. It's a new system. Give them time. Don't jump to conclusions. But there's a lot of work to do. And just like looking ahead to April, it's double header back to back against Greece, home and away. And we're needing a favour of another team to make sure Slovenia don't win the group. And we're in real danger now of not topping that group.
Yeah, I guess to be fair, Maeve, it's not unreasonable to say I'm not tearing up a system after your first window, 2 games, a win, and the other obviously this terrible defeat. You would be actually more worried perversely if Carla Ward said, God, yeah, no, we're tearing that up. We'll do something totally different the next time.
Yeah, I mean, she is fixed in her philosophy, and she has a good history in the game too. Obviously, a lot of that has been at club level, so she'll have learned so much in this first camp. Like, she only would have had 2 training sessions before the Turkey game, so there's not a whole lot you can do really. Like, and you don't want to burn the players out before the game either. So it's a lot of information to try to pass on. And 4-3-3, it's probably the most commonly used formation in elite football in the last 5 or 10 years. So the girls themselves would have all been exposed to it, and it's not like this rocket science of a new formation of that. So from that point of view, I think the girls would have known what was expected of them in each role in the system, whether they've played it or not before. And yeah, I think things just didn't work. The likes of Kira Carusa, she put a shift in on the right, but she's just, in my opinion, just didn't look comfortable there. She's predominantly, like I said, a centre forward, and she did her best, but at times there wasn't any kind of fluidity or cohesion between the group at all. It's just so many new personnel in different positions. So and obviously the lack of balance in the first half. We didn't have a left-footed defender on the pitch either, so it was hard to kind of get that with. And Katie McCabe was probably our only left-footed player in the first half. So it just kind of all led to that just nightmare really of a first half. Like, there was huge improvements in the second half. In fairness to the girls, they did really push on, and they had Slovenia pushed back for large periods of the second half, and they did create a lot of chances, but they didn't really create those clear-cut ones that we would have been looking for. And they had a load of set pieces, a lot of corner kicks and free kicks too, but they just, either the quality wasn't there either in the delivery or the finish, which again is an aspect of the game that we're usually so good at.
Yeah, and so with the view to where Ward might end up, so presumably again she'll stick to 4-3-3 and try and improve it for the next window. But listening to you talk there, you make the point, we're strong when it comes to producing centre backs, and we still have lots of centre backs, less so when it comes to traditional orthodox full backs in a back four. You see, you can almost kind of see how there'll be an instinct for any manager to drift back towards a back five, and then you get Katie hopefully as a left wing back, but an attacking one in an ideal world, and then to your point, maybe you give Ruisha Littlejohn a bit of help. So you have 2 6s if you want Denise further at the pitch, and you put Kira Carusa or Amber Barrett back leading the line. You can sort of see us drifting back into that world if it is a cut to cloth type pragmatism, or else we've got Ruben Amorim on our hands here, and over my dead body is my changing.
Yeah, I know there's kind of pros and cons to everything, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, it just seems to be an area we have abundance of talent in, is that centre back area. And it's hard not to see going back to it. But I think she's going to stick, at least for the Nations League. I can't see her changing it. And in fairness, like we do have to be patient too. It's obviously very difficult to be patient after, the worst loss that I can remember, given the rankings of where they were. I mean, we lost 4-0 to France was the last time, but obviously the quality of opposition is far superior there. But yeah, I can see, I think, even that tweak of having 2 holding mids versus, 2 attacking mids could make a huge difference, I think, going forward, just because, it does provide that stability, and that second 6 still can have a license to go forward and support the attack too. But it's just that maybe when we're set, out of possession, that the way we line up might just give that extra bit of cover, I think.
Yeah, and like the team should try and play progressively, Seán. Okay, they have a technical level. Ruisha Littlejohn spoke brilliantly and honestly about that. I suppose, though, if you're going to put the impetus on let's play and let's try and create, then you're going to have to set yourself up well when you... at transition when because you can assume mistakes will be made. We're going to lose the ball, so let's not just have a completely exposed back 2 or back 3 or back 4 where we're ripe. Like that first goal, for instance, it's a really bad clearance. Like you just can't sugarcoat it. It's just poor, and then they're in on top of us. So maybe that's the balance that you're just going to have to set up with more numbers, and therefore you're hopefully in a better position when turnovers happen.
And that's the thing about last night. Before we knew it, we were 3-0 down. There wasn't much of an opportunity to get on the transition or get the ball into the final third. And I know, as Maeve said, we were really improved in the first half and bossed the possession stats, and Slovenia had to sit deep, weather the storm, but there was just such a lack of quality getting that ball into the final third. I think Denise O'Sullivan hit the bar late on, but other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot of clear-cut chances. And I was looking at stats there, 14 corners, and didn't put one of them back in the net. And that's where you're kind of looking, does someone like Caitlin Hayes and her threat in the air kind of come into those thoughts as well. So it is that balance between making sure you're set up strong at the back but playing on the front foot. And I think there was just such expectation after the last League B campaign, 2023. I think it was 20 goals scored, only 2 conceded. And I know it was a different group, of course, but that's your expectation for Ireland in League B, and it's been a really, really concerning start. Hopefully 6 points against Greece as well. Slovenia defeated them last Friday as well, and it all could come down to that last game in Tala at home against Slovenia. But we're going to need a big favour from someone else.
Yeah. So look, defensive fragility is to the fore of your mind, Maeve, clearly. And like, to be fair, 4-3-3 is very quickly a 4-5-1. Let's not kid ourselves. So there's no reason Ireland can't and shouldn't be, like they were under their best under Vera Pauw. Any team looking at Ireland when they really kind of hit that peak point was, these are a tough nut to crack.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, men's, women's, any Irish team that's playing, it's always that's it, kind of put the bodies on the line, always in tight. And I mean, that's what the frustrating thing when we played Turkey even on Friday was, like, they just did to us what we do to a lot of higher ranked teams. We sit in, park the double-decker bus, make it hard to break us down. And we do rarely give away chances, and like that, we don't normally ship 4 goals against any opposition. So yeah, I think going forward, I suppose, we're missing, the likes of Niamh Fahey who retired as well. And anytime she's in the team, you just know there's going to be that stability at the back and that leadership, that confidence. Even Diane Caldwell as well. I know she didn't play in the last few games, but she really did provide that as well. Just so much experience. And and then on the other end of the pitch, I think the Julianne Russell was definitely missing, or a big loss. And also Leanne Kiernan was missing with a calf injury too. So those kind of offered a different dynamic, I think, in the last few games that we didn't have. Abby Larkin did well, I thought, when she came on. Probably one of the few bright sparks on the night. She tried to do a bit, although at the end still didn't create a whole lot. But she definitely put in as much effort as she could. And it wasn't for a lack of trying, I suppose, from the girls, and I know they'll know that themselves, that they did try it. It just seemed like everything, like we already said, just didn't work out on the night.
When you think of someone like Fahey as well, and sorry, on Russell, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if she gets a "Are you sure?" text message in the coming days. But you think of Fahey, you think of sleeves rolled up and sort of aggression as well. And
exactly.
That kind of aggression, was it there to the same extent? It's hard to know.
No, and I think that her goal really summed it up. I think, a player loose at the back post in the box with the ball at her feet, and we just didn't go and press it. Like, at that point, all formations, all tactics, coaching points go out the window, and, you just have to get to the ball. And similar as well for that, the goal from the corner, like, you just have to get to the ball first. There's no other way. I mean, used to be thought that in any sport, in Gaelic football and anything, like, get to the ball first, and that's just the main thing. And yeah, it comes from aggression and from that kind of desire to get it. I think the girls still wanted it. It's just you have to think as well, maybe they go to there was absolutely no atmosphere at the game. There was a really small crowd. Pitch wasn't far from the carpets that they'd be used to playing in the Aviva and that type of thing too. So, I suppose as players as well, it does take that little bit extra just to get up for that kind of game. And I think they'll definitely put it right when the double header comes around. It's just unfortunate that for them it's such a long break. I think it's about 6 weeks or something until that game. So it's a long time really to be left thinking about this one.
Seán, about the kind of best positive you could take from last night is it's maybe not the worst time for all this to happen. New manager, there'll be, there's a honeymoon period, you're getting your ideas across, and this isn't a World Cup or European qualification campaign which has been blown to smithereens. Obviously getting to League A is important, but if there's no good time for this kind of a thing to happen, this isn't the absolute worst either.
I suppose that's the only silver line, is can't get much more worse than this, and hopefully the only way is up from here on in. But I think Carla Ward's one objective and made it very clear is to get Ireland to the 2027 World Cup, and it's a good time to come in. This Nations League campaign, you're not going straight into a qualifying campaign. Has a couple of games to get our ideas across, bed the new players in. And she's spoken last month when she took the job of the potential of calling up some new recruits, and we saw Mel Phillis coming in this camp as well. I'm not getting the cap, although. So yeah, there is a couple of games to get her ideas across, get the players up to speed, but there'll be massive pressure on that Greece double header now to not just get 6 points, but more performance wise. I think especially against Turkey, you got the 3 points, but there was really big concerns over the performance. Obviously last night was last night, the horrible night. There'll be massive pressure against Greece, and I know people will say as well, as Maeve said, the Julianne Russell, Diane Caldwell, Niamh Fahey retiring, and speaking last Friday, I think it was 238 caps between them.
Louise Quinn is injured as well for
Louise Quinn, of course, and
number of games.
Rusha Littlejohn still clubless at the moment, of course, and one or two other players yet to find a club at the moment too. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts to it, but hopefully things will settle down come the Greece double header. But there'll be massive pressure on that, not just for the 6 points, but for the performances as well. And
Maeve, did you share Seán's lack of love with the Friday performance, the win against Turkey?
Yeah, definitely. It was a hard watch. Now, yeah, there was lots of, I suppose, excuses on the night, and some of them were justified, some maybe not so much. The pitch was as bad a state as I've seen Tala. Obviously, the game at the weekend then after it was also called off. It was unplayable. So, they did find it hard to pass the ball and keep that quality in the play. But yeah, it was. People talk about maybe at that stage still having Welsh hangover, but I think when you have a new manager in and a lot of the staff are new, I think that's kind of forgotten about. And maybe there was a eagerness or an anxiousness maybe to impress the new manager. It was a completely clean slate for all the players really. Although she did, the team was somewhat based off reputation because she wouldn't have had that much experience working with them. But I think even looking forward then to Greece, I think there will be some changes. I'd imagine that even changes to the squad itself, and indeed the starting 11 as well.
So Megan Campbell, unfortunately, her fitness is a continual stress. If Ward is going to stick with a back four, it's been said that we don't have an abundance of natural fullbacks for the many centre halves that we have. Who are Ireland's best two options at fullback in a back four then, Maeve? If Campbell's injured.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say Katie McCabe, is now there's one, obviously Tara O'Hanlon as well as playing at Man City at the moment. Now she hasn't actually physically kicked a ball for them yet because of injury problems, but I think she's a real up and coming player. If she did get herself fit and in the squad regularly, then I think I could see her filling in at that spot, in the left back spot. On the right there is wide open, to be honest. We don't have, I know Heather Payne is playing there with Everton at the moment, but she's really an attack-minded player. I think she's grown up on the wing really, and it's hard to, I suppose, to adapt and change back to that defensive role. But there's likes of Jamie Finn, who's out with an ACL injury too, and I mean there's lots of players that filled in there. Aoife Mannion, I thought, did herself no harm over the 2 games. She performed. She was pretty solid, playing right back predominantly in the first game, and then left back. Started left back last night. So or sorry, on the weekend, but or yeah, last night even. But it seems like a lifetime ago at this
You've
stage.
got PTSD
But
at this stage.
yeah, it's trying to get it out of my memory, but it's still lingering there. But yeah, I think there's loads of options,
Okay.
yeah, to play there and like that. We are missing a few girls like Jessu as well as out with an ACL. If she comes back, I think she'll bring a lot of energy to the team too.
Yeah, that technical ability that you want as well to knit things together. Because like even the way Carusa took her chance on Friday is such a brilliant header. It's like it's just creating seems to be the biggest problem. A question for both of you maybe to finish is like how much wiggle room here does Ward have in terms of we're trying a new thing, we're going to play more attacking possession based football, we're going to have a new system, it's going to take time. Like the insinuation there in brackets is we're going to get worse before we get better. And that can be a slippery slope in sport, in any sport. So are we okay with that? Is this Irish team still at a point where we can not have results and not be super competitive in a bid to, rising several levels at some kind of indistinguishable point in the future? Or will there be a degree of, Carla, like those days are gone. We're not building towards anything anymore. You come in and you win matches. We don't care how you win, and that's just that. So how much wiggle room do you think she has here, Seán?
Possibly a little bit for the Nations League campaign. As we said, it was a good time to come in and take your time and bed in your new ideas. But her contract is until the end of the 2027 qualification campaign. So her objective is pretty clear. So I think if we don't end up getting promoted back to League A here but still qualify for the World Cup, I think all it's results at the end of the day, and all anyone remembers is like in 5 or 10 years time, do you remember Carla Ward got us to the World Cup, and this Nations League campaign will be at the back of people's minds for sure. So it is an ideal time to come in. I don't want to say lack of pressure, but you're not straight into a qualifying campaign. That there is a little bit of wiggle room, and I agree with Méabh. We could see a good few changes now for this Greece double header. But once that qualification campaign begins for 2027, there can be no excuses.
Yeah. Méabh, we have to get worse before we get better. This is a lot of transition. How much patience is there for that at this stage in Ireland's development?
Yeah, it's I think definitely last night even itself almost tested the patience, but I think really those Greece games, like we have to target 6 points, although I know there's still going to be a lot of bedding out, but Greece are ranked, I think it's 33 places lower than us. It'd be very, very hard to take a loss against them. But yeah, at the same time, I think there is that bit of wiggle room. I don't think it would be, I don't think people would be calling for the end of her contract or anything like that in these next 4 games. So
and to be fair, I certainly don't mean that. I mean, she'll see out her contract, there's no doubt, no matter what happens. It's more just that sense of like public sentiment with her, that this is the right thing to do as opposed to just knocking out the results. At the moment you'd say, listen, away you go. Yeah, if this is how you see the game and you think we have the players to do it, then have at it. It's just before question marks start, God, is this the right approach? I don't think... Like if the Greece thing was to not go well, then she'd be asked unbelievably serious questions. This isn't working. Abandon plan.
Definitely, yeah, I think so. And the one thing I suppose I definitely respect in her post-match interviews, she took the pressure off the players, and she said that herself. She took somewhat of the blame anyway, which may not have been done in the past when managers speak after losses, that they could single out players or that, but she wasn't doing that. In fairness to her, she took it on the chin and didn't blame the players at all, and said that they are getting a lot of new information and all that as well. So from that side of it, I think that was a positive at least. And the players themselves, I think they have accepted it too, that they have said in any of their interviews afterwards that it was unacceptable. And I suppose that's the thing now, is standards and expectations have gone up with the qualification for the World Cup. So it's a good place to be in terms of not wanting to accept these kind of losses, whereas in the past might have just been brushed under the carpet, whereas at least now that you need to improve and hopefully get better performances again in the doubleheader against Greece.
Yeah, and Ward is a really good appointment. You were happy to see her name emerge.
Yeah, I was, and I think it was a fairly standard opinion across the board. I think a lot of people were happy with that. She has a lot of experience at club level, and then she was with Emma Hayes with the US women's national team during the summer when they won the Olympic gold medal as well. So she would have gained a lot of experience. She would talk, a lot about Emma being a mentor, and Emma Hayes is definitely one of the top coaches in the female game. So I'm sure she'll be ringing her even this week as well, trying to get some pointers too. And it does sound like, I think, we have to give her the benefit of the doubt. And now I'm sure she'll do a lot of work herself and all the new background staff. They'll have learned a huge amount over the last few days, and I'm sure they'll be able to make big improvements.
Okay. Final thoughts?
Yeah, just was going to say relevant kind of after last night. I have a kind of big read in Saturday's Irish Independent, kind of looking at the state of play of the Women's League of Ireland, which starts on March 8th. And I've been talking to a couple of managers involved in the league about how they see the state of play currently, facilities funding, and the pathway from the Women's League of Ireland to the national team. So that's a big read in Saturday's Irish Independent, kind of relevant after last night, if people want to check that out.
Okay, very good. Seán O'Connor of the Irish Independent, thanks for coming to the studio. Méabh de Búrca, former Irish international. I promise if Ireland win against Greece, we will also have you on. You're not just here
to promise.
to rip into the team.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, appreciate it. And again, our football coverage is with thanks to Sky Sports, where you'll find exclusive live sport, not least the biggest Premier League games each weekend, every golf major, every F1 race, the 25 Ryder Cup, Premier League darts, the Lions Tour, and much more. You can watch Sky Sports on Sky or stream it on Now. My thanks again to Méabh and to Seán.